Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devi Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye. Thank you very much. We're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 1. We're continuing from text number 36. 36. Chapter 1, text 36. We have reached the stage where Arjuna is expressing his dilemma. First of all, he has expressed that he is going through some bodily symptoms, 4 bodily symptoms, just by observing the armies. And there was a 5th symptom, and that was to do with his mind, that his mind is also wandering. So first 4 were bodily symptoms, and then the mental condition. And the mind is wandering due to his impatience. He feels this is the wrong situation to be in. So now, from text number 36, before I even begin, there are a few points to observe. He now begins to justify why he's feeling impatient, why. In other words, he's thinking that perhaps it's not to do with me. It's to do with the situation that I'm in that's wrong, not my condition. So now he's justifying what he's seeing, why it is wrong. And this text 36, it starts that pattern of justification. In particular, in this particular verse, the word atatayina is used, which means an aggressor. So Srila Prabhupada will explain the various types of aggressors. So Srila Prabhupada, he devotes his purports to explaining what Arjuna is saying, so that we can understand his point better. And it has merit. It is not without merit what he's saying. However, Srila Prabhupada will also point out in the purports, for example, that Arjuna is thinking it's out of compassion he is declining to fight. He doesn't want to see so much bloodshed, all for the sake of a kingdom. So now that sounds very noble. However, Srila Prabhupada, as we will find in this purport, he equates that with cowardice, not with compassion, this action. So cowardice changes the whole complexion of the argument. And then there is a discussion of 2 other points of forgiveness. Arjuna feels forgiveness is a very noble quality, aside from compassion. And he also thinks that one should act in such a way that they should not be the cause of their own misfortune. So all of that is in this particular verse. So now we begin. Papam eva shrayat asman atvaitan adatayina tasman naraha vayam hantum tat rashtan suphandavan sajanam hi katham hatva sukhina syama madhava. So he's wrapped a number of points here. He speaks of papa, sinful reaction. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. So he's admitting that they are aggressors, they unprovoked attack. Aggressor means somebody who attacks you in some manner. Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Though somebody is attacking me, if I slay him, I will be overcome by sin. Papa. So this is his particular vision, this is his view, and it's good because it's truthful. But there's a mistake which we will learn as we go. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. You know this argument of we should not, sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. There's an interesting, common statement that's used, attributed to the times of the Victorian age in England, to call a dog a bad name and hang it. Okay? To call a dog a bad name and hang it. It's a kind of a justification. If you say dirty dog, now if you kick it, why did you kick it? Oh, it's a dirty dog. How is he a dirty dog? You label it. So here, Arjuna is labeling such aggressors you cannot kill. I mean, why you cannot? Oh, they're such aggressors. They're special kind. It's just, you see, there's a certain, it's a fallacy, it's a false logic. But that's how the mind works. I mean, why did you kick the dog? It's a dirty dog. I mean, so you just label it in a way that if I kick it, it's acceptable. So Arjuna is making an argument that actually, if you kill these aggressors, it's not a good thing. It's sinful. It's bad. Therefore, see now he's saying therefore. He's made a fallacious statement. Now he's saying therefore, tasman. It is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra. Araha. Araha is a word. It's like, it is not befitting. It's not deserved. It's almost like unjust. If you do something that's not just, then you use the word, oh, justice. Na araha. It's not right. Vayam. We should kill these Dhritarashtra and Sabhandavan and our friends. Now, obviously, they're not friends. These people have come to kill him. So it's really stretching the point. But that's how false logic works. It's not like when you do something wrong, you say, no, I'm doing something wrong. That's not how the mind works. You think, actually, it is not wrong. And you have some perverted logic behind it. And Arjuna is going through this. What should we gain, O Krishna? Husband of the goddess of fortune. You're the husband of all good fortune. So, Papa, sin, what's the gain? Sin is not good. Sin is not going to bring about good fortune. And how could we be happy? So, this is like very good argument, really, but it is faulty. Katham, he's asking this question. How is it possible? How is this good? Katham. Very interesting. And what will we gain? What is it? How and what? So first of all, Srila Prabhupada devotes the early part of the purport to explaining Atatayina. There's an interesting thing about the 6 kinds of aggressors. they fall into two groups actually. The three is an easy way to remember them also. Three are to do with corporal offenders. Bodily, they attack your body by arson, poison, and weapon. That means they harm your body by fire, by poison, by weapon. And the other group are the offenders, the aggressors who attack your possessions. So one is corporal, one is your possession. So your possession is your wealth, your wife, your land, or your property. So that's how you can remember it. To remember that there's two groups, bodily and what somebody may own. So all six of these, Prabhupada says, such aggressors are at once to be killed, and no sin is incurred by killing such a. So Arjuna is saying, Papam, his point was Papam evashrayad asman hatvaitan atatayina. He is saying sin will overcome. Srila Prabhupada is explaining no sin is incurred by killing these kinds of aggressors. And the enemy of Arjuna happens to be a person who has done all six of these. All six. Not just one of them, but every single of the possible kinds of aggressor, he has done it. Duryodhana has done it. He has tried to burn them. He has tried to poison Bhima. He has attacked them with weapons. He has stolen their kingdom, their wife. He tried to insult and took away the land and property. Unbelievable. And Arjuna is feeling compassion for them. So Srila Prabhupada then goes into this point, addressing Arjuna's portrayal as misleading. But Srila Prabhupada develops a very nice, it's some very nice points here. So let's go through it. Such killing of aggressors is quite befitting any ordinary man. But Arjuna, he's not an ordinary person. He is saintly by character, therefore he wanted to deal with them in saintliness. This kind of saintliness, however, is not for a Kshatriya. See, the policeman, he cannot catch a criminal and say, oh, I will be saintly. This is not the policeman's job. He's now participating in an injustice. He's now collaborating with the criminal. So although a responsible man, Prabhupada says, any administration of a state is required to be saintly, he should he cannot be cowardly. You see, there's a distinction. And the administrator must have that distinction very clearly in his mind. He cannot be so bewildered as to be unable to distinguish what is saintliness and what is cowardice, what is genuine compassion. So really, it's not optional for the state administrator, for the leader who administers justice, to take the side of the criminal. This is the point. An aggressor, it's not really optional. He must be killed. True compassion, if you like, is that justice must be administered by the person who is responsible for such administration of justice. So the other point is that whilst Arjuna began the argument by saying Papam evashrayat asman, he ends it by saying Swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina syama sukhina. How will I be happy? He really doesn't care about the sinful reaction. His point is, I can't possibly be happy by this outcome. So, and because I can't be happy, let's call that papa, let's call that sinful reaction. But that's not how sinful reactions work, by your feelings, by your sentiment. So right now, sometimes we feel angry and we want to be more cruel than the person's crime deserves. And sometimes we want to be lenient. Neither of those are appropriate for administration of justice. And of course, he's forgetting his own statement. Even though he's speaking very, assured right now, just in the previous verse, he said what? Brahmati iva chaya memana. My mind is bewildered. And yet he's now speaking very authoritatively. This is, mind is bewildered. Well then, you're not in a position to speak very authoritatively. So now Prabhupada gives the example of a person who is saintly. For example, Lord Rama was so saintly that people even now, even today, are anxious to live in the kingdom of Lord Rama. But Lord Rama never showed any cowardice. So he explains this point. Ravana was an aggressor against Rama because Ravana kidnapped Rama's wife, Sita. But Lord Rama gave him sufficient lessons, unparalleled in the history of the world. This sufficient lessons means he wiped out his entire family. Every able-bodied person in that kingdom, he wiped them out, killed them. That's what's called sufficient lesson. It's serious business administering justice. It's not child's play, and it's not a game of sentiments. Of course, we live in an age where I gave the example previously that if you make a sentimental appeal, the judge says, "Oh, in light of the fact that look at his eyes. He looks so sad. Let him off." Well, that's it. Sad eyes. And the other person who couldn't do the action, couldn't touch the heart of the judge, he send him for life. 10 lives or whatever it is, unnecessarily. So Srila Prabhupada is giving the example of a person. In this example, he's not treating the Lord as the Supreme Personality, but example of administration, how to react when an aggressor has done something against you. That's the point. And that's something other than the Supreme Personality Godhead, others can also follow that example. And Lord Rama, his example is showing that really saintliness and killing an aggressor are not mutually exclusive. They can both go side by side. They go well together. And now, of course, so Prabhupada is taking the argument a little further. He's going to make the case on Arjuna's behalf that Arjuna says, well, the aggressor in his case is his family member, Swajanam. Ravana was not a family member of Lord Rama. So, it may be. So Arjuna is thinking, well, there's a case. There should be some exemption if the person happens to be a family member. So Srila Prabhupada leaves it at that. Then he's making a case, na araha. He's saying saintly persons are advised to forgive. You do something bad, the saintly person, it's keeping with his character to forgive, say, okay, I forgive you. So Prabhupada now says, such injunctions for saintly persons are more important than any political emergency. Arjuna considered that rather than kill his own kinsmen for political reasons, it would be better to forgive them on grounds of religion and saintly behavior. He did not, therefore, consider such killing profitable simply for the matter of temporary bodily happiness. After all, kingdoms and pleasures derived therefrom are not permanent. So why should he risk his life and eternal salvation by killing his own kinsman? So this is Arjuna's argument. Srila Prabhupada makes his case for him very nicely though. Finally, the other point that we mentioned in the beginning was that Arjuna addresses Krishna as Madhava, meaning you are the husband of the goddess of fortune. Why would you lead me on a path which will lead me ultimately to my misfortune? So Prabhupada ends that by saying, Krishna, however, never brings misfortune to anyone, to say nothing of his devotees. Right. So these are a clarification of some nice points, but as Prabhupada is covering them, he's also pointing out some nice corrections. And this is a very nice point, that Krishna never brings misfortune to anyone. No one. Not even the demons, not even the atheists. To say nothing of the person who has decided to love and worship Krishna. Why would he incur misfortune? Sometimes we as devotees, we also sometimes think, why is Krishna doing this to me? We hold Krishna responsible. So Arjuna is also thinking, my Lord, you should be discouraging me from this path. This is not a good path. And we also, bewildered like Arjuna sometimes, see, this happens when you're overwhelmed. You have to remember, Arjuna is seriously overwhelmed. I mean, on a small thing we can be very tolerant. We can say, oh, I've done something sinful. But when it's really, really serious, then when our tolerance level, it has exceeded our ability to tolerate, we may then snap. And Arjuna is really in this kind of overwhelming situation. And we in our lives sometimes do go through that. There are some incidents in life which are really horrendous, and we lose our ability to understand how Krishna, I've given my life to the Lord, and yet this is what's happening. So there is a certain kindred spirit being covered here. In other words, if you have ever had any major obstacle in life, well, Arjuna is simpatico. He's covering your base. He's covering your argument for you. In other words, Krishna is going to address this point, that how his arrangement is never unfortunate for his devotee. Never. So, again, in the spirit of the Bhagavad Gita, you have to be patient. We're only on chapter 1. You have to be patient to find out how it is that Krishna actually, even if he is directly responsible for my situation, usually he's not. Usually it's our own sinful life that's reduced. But even if you grant that it is Krishna, and in the case of Arjuna, it's definitely Krishna who's arranging, then, even then, Krishna is never brings misfortune to his devotee. He doesn't bring it for anybody. Why would he bring it to his devotee? Now, moving on, the next set of verses, 2 verses, but from text 37 to text 44, which is almost the end of the whole chapter, Arjuna is going to elaborate on this. He's going to develop his theme. How is he going to develop it? He's going to say that this killing business, Hattava, Swajana, especially the killing of elders, is to kill the Varnashram institution. That's one of the arguments. And he's saying that is definitely sinful. Now, in other words, he's developing he's qualifying the statement why it is that Papa sinful reactions will overtake us. He's saying because elders will be killed, and when the elders are killed, the varnashram system will be killed. And when that is done, all of population falls into sinful behavior. We will have caused sinful situation. And so Srila Prabhupada, what he will do in all these verses up to text 44 and onwards, he will explain the merit of Arjuna's points actually, that they are valid, it has merit. However, you have to remember that it is his misapplying. In other words, your logic, your point may be valid, but it doesn't apply in this situation. That's the point. The situation here, if you remember, and I'll help you remember, is the administration of justice. If the policeman takes it on his own, thinking that, oh, if I take this man, this criminal, to the court, I will set up a chain reaction where his children will suffer. Now, yes, a father, if he's incarcerated, children are unprotected and so on, so he can have a logic, but he's overlooking the first point, which was he's in charge of administration of justice. This person has been guilty of making another living entity suffer. It's an injustice on that living entity if he should go unpunished. You have the equivalent of lawlessness if you do not administer justice. So this is what Arjuna is overlooking. But all his arguments have merit, aside from this fault. So now we'll begin. Text 37. Yadi apyete na pashyanti loba pahata chetasa kulakshaya kritam dosha mitra drohe chapatakam katham na geyam asmaki papa asman nivartadam kulakshaya kritam dosham prapashyadhi janardana. Oh Janardana. Janardana means the Lord who resides in everyone's heart. Although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we? Katanna asmadi. Why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, kulakshaya kritam dosham, the fault of killing a family, engage in these acts of sin? What others don't see the fault, we who can see the fault, why should we do the same thing? So he also makes the point that out of greed, the other people's sense of right and wrong is destroyed. Loba upahata chetasa. They have lost, they have destroyed their loba, their greed has destroyed their understanding of what's right and wrong. Chetasa. So he's saying, but we haven't lost our ability. If somebody is making a mistake, why should I also do the same? Just like there's a saying, two wrongs do not make a right. And this is his argument. Again, he's overlooking the fact that these are criminals who have to be brought to justice. A Kshatriya, Srila Prabhupada writes, is not supposed to refuse to battle or gamble when he's so invited, or challenged would be even more clear. When he's so invited by some rival party. Under such an obligation, Arjuna could not refuse to fight because he had been challenged by the party of Duryodhana. So Arjuna considers that the other party might be blind to the effects of such a challenge. And but Arjuna could see the evil consequence, and therefore, why should he? Why should he also participate in this nonsense challenge? And Prabhupada helps nail it, Arjuna's argument further. Obligation is actually binding when the effect is good. But when the effect is not good, no one can be so bound. So again, you see, it's a very selective sort of logic here. As if he's thinking as if it is optional for him. And he's not thinking that really he has no choice in this matter, but he's thinking, it's up to me. Considering all these pros and cons, Arjuna decides not to fight. Text 39. Now here is where he develops the link, you destroy the family, you destroy the family tradition. If you destroy the family tradition, this will lead to irreligion. Kulakshaye pranashyanti kula dharma sanatana dharme nashte kulam kritsna adharma bhi bhavatyuta. So the word is interesting. Abhibhavati. Abhibhavati means something is transformed from this into that. What is this transformation? With the destruction of the dynasty, a transformation takes place, which is the eternal family tradition is vanquished. If there is no dynasty, then how can there be a tradition? And thus, the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion. There's nobody to supervise, to oversee the activities of the next generation. And they will invariably fall into irreligious activities. So, Kulakshaya really means long-established religious, moral family traditions. Kula, the family. Now, of course, it's already lost. Most people have no notion if there ever was a family religious or moral principles that their family observed. But like I said, one of my interests is history. And I've noticed, not only in India, but in almost all the cultures of the world, there was family traditions. Every nation almost. Even Africa, because I have some African godbrothers, they have very strict family traditions. So, Kulakshaya, he's concerned that it's a major thing. Now, of course, we're living in an age where already it is destroyed. Most people would be hard-pressed to say what their family tradition is, if any. They wouldn't know. And sometimes it's only the bare ritual, simply going through some motions of something. In India, I know, for example, that it's almost a farce. Any family tradition. There's no understanding behind those rituals. And so that Abhibhavati, so this destruction of the family tradition, it transforms into irreligion. Kula Krishna Adharma Bhavati. You now have irreligion. That society is so he's taking this view that this is really very destructive course of action. And now there's another interesting word he uses in this. He uses the word Utta, U-T-A, Utta. It is said. He's citing authority. Higher authority. It's not just my opinion. It's just, I may have faults and I may have some bias, some prejudice, but this has been said by higher authority, Utta. It's a long settled point. And he's thinking this is Vedic, this is right, this is correct. He's trying to make himself feel, yes. Before I was hesitant to fight, Now I'm certain I should not fight. Because why? Even the authorities, even the Vedas say, oh, you shouldn't do such a thing. So, it's actually very good. If you want to be a lawyer, you should study Arjuna's development of argument, And if you just make them not remember that he's a criminal, my lord, ladies and gentlemen, incarcerating this poor gentleman, look at him. He's really great. It will be a great injustice. So, this is how he's proceeding. So Prabhupada now explains all the points Arjuna makes. Firstly, about what is this Kula Dharma. In the system of Varnashram institution, there are many principles of religious tradition to help members of the family grow properly and attain spiritual values. The elder members, now Prabhupada is focusing on the Kula, the family. The elder members are responsible for such purifying processes in the family, beginning from birth to death. So this is what's overlooked, that the idea behind all these rituals was purification. That's the point. It wasn't the ritual. So when the Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu comes with his solution of chanting the holy name, which purifies you, people object because they forget the purpose of their own family tradition was purification, which is now being given to you in a way that will be actually effective. Mostly, the rituals we adopt, they don't even have the power to purify the person. Minimally, if at all. As there's a saying in England, so what are you doing? So just keeping out of trouble. So some of these rituals, the best they do is they keep you out of trouble. While you're observing it, you're not in the pub. You're not in the liquor house. So maybe that's the only good point, just keeping out of trouble. But actually, the point of all these rituals was purification. And that's a key point to remember. Because actually Arjuna is going to go through purification by observing the battle. Now he's overlooking that point, you see. He's just looking at the externals. The whole point of everything in Vedic system of managing society is purification, including that of killing the aggressor, including that of going to war. For the sake of purification, invariably one is risking even his own life, isn't it? For the sake of this principle. So that's what's the key point. Sometimes devotees also forget. People challenge you, well, this is a book of war. You're encouraging war. No. Everyone dies. War or no war. But Vedic system, if the king administers justice and if it involves war, it will purify. Even the aggressor, even the bad person. This is important. It's a very elevated theology and even sociology. It's an important. None of this other forms of managing society have such. They do not have this ability to understand the idea of purification. They only look at economic development. What is good economically for their people. It's such a short-sighted. This is a far, far greater understanding of managing the people of a country, of a nation. So going back to Arjuna's argument, and I'll end it here actually, because the next one is even more developed than the one in this particular. So But on the death of the elder members, such family traditions of purification may stop, and the remaining younger family members may develop religious habits and thereby lose their chance of spiritual salvation. Dharme nashte kulam kritsna, adharma abhibhavati. Dharme nashte. So he's concerned for the varnashram system, but it's misplaced. The object of the varnashram system is for purification, and the act for purifying is he's come face to face with it and is declining to engage in it. This is his fault. Prabhupada ends the purport by saying, therefore for no purpose should the elder members of the family be slain. But again, it's overlooking the fact that if they have to be slain for the purpose of purification, because keeping them in place has meant keeping in place the administration of a person like Duryodhana, which involves trying to humiliate a chaste lady in public, which involves usurping others' kingdom, cheating. So by not killing, he is going to now sanction all this sinful behavior, which he is not, of course he's biased, he's prejudiced, because he doesn't want to fight now. He's justifying after the fact. He's not actually evaluating the situation correctly. So we might misunderstand, thinking, no, Arjuna is correct. No, actually he's not correct. This is called selective reasoning. It's you're avoiding another body of information and just being very selective. Like that you can justify anything if you want, by not looking at the whole total picture. So death in Vedic culture is not discouraged. The important point is purification. Needless killing is also not encouraged by the same token. Cowardice is not encouraged, but also killing is also not encouraged. Why? Because killing itself does not make somebody purified. It has to be qualified. Is the person an aggressor? One of 6 types of aggressors. Bodily harm or one's possessions are stolen. If he is, he should be killed. If it's a nation, you should go to war. That's the job of the administrator. The person responsible for looking after the people under his care, of his leader. So leader cannot be. So many people also objected to Srila Prabhupada's strong views against Gandhi, Mohandas Gandhi. Part of his sentiment was that he gave away a large part of India to form another nation. 3 nations actually were made by Gandhi: Afghanistan, West Pakistan, East Pakistan. But it wasn't his to give away. It did not do justice. It was injustice. He collaborated with the evildoers. And that is a fact. Srila Prabhupada would use that phrase, and that is a fact. So we should not be sentimental. Arjuna is mistaken in his choice of not fighting. He's overlooking many salient points. He's selective, and he's making his argument. His argument sounds very good to him. But Krishna is not a yes man, and he is not ignorant. And therefore the Lord is going to correct Arjuna. This path, So usually when you do wrong, it doesn't mean that you don't have some logic. but it's fallacious. It's mistaken. It's motivated. You have a motive. You're not a true truth seeker. You're just simply wanting to justify your behavior. Thank you very much. Your patience. Are there any questions?
There's a microphone.
Take the mic behind you.
Don't hit the camera.
Hare Krishna.
Put them too close.
It's good, it's good.
Hare Krishna, Guruji. It was an amazing class and very logically presented. I really liked the many points that you made about how even the evildoers have their logic, but it's fallacious. It's a very nice point. I just had a question about, so the 6 aggressors you were mentioning, is the Vedic system to punish all of them with capital punishment? Like even if there's a thief, if he has stolen, is a thief also considered one of the 6 aggressors?
Yeah, okay, thank you. The thief in this particular case was of 3 particular items: your wife, your land, and your money. In other words, it wasn't a thief of one little object. We're talking about the sum total of everything. And those 3 categories of thieves, they are punishable by death. And no sin. And death is actually what is required for justice in such a case. This person basically is not hesitating to kill you, basically. It's the equivalent of wanting to kill you, to take your wife, all your wealth, or your land. It's understood that he's really trying, because that's what the citizen has, and the administrator's duty is to uphold justice. So that's, yes, that's equivalent. But not for every little thing. Not, You can't make it morally equivalent, every little thing with everything else.
Sure.
So there's degrees. It's not that in Vedic culture, anything you do, you hang him. What is it? Alice in Wonderland? The queen is saying,
Off with their heads.
Off with their head. Thank you. Thank you. Just tying in with some funny things we all grow up with. I grew up with, but even forgotten. So, off with their head. Anything, just off with their head. Somebody, for no reason. So it's not unreasonable. Is that okay? All right. Did you raise your? Yeah. Please pass the mic. It's long enough. It's very long. Oh, we need. There's a radio station.
I think that was a Hare Krishna. I think that was a good point, that justice has to be done based on a degree. Like there have been incidences where 3-4 people were involved in doing some crime, and the justice were given as per their ashram. Like Brahman was severely punished, the Shudra was less punished. There were incidents like that, and depending upon their knowledge level, like how ignorant were they of the fact. My question is, you mentioned obligation is not binding in many situations, like for example for Bhishma Pitama and Dronacharya, they were teachers and they were kind of bound by the kingdom like that, and they fought on the wrong side, and Krishna told them not to do that, but they did. So the point here is, we see in our own lives, we go through so many situations where we are obliged to so many people, and if they are on the wrong side, and it can happen in case of like our own brothers, our own family members, they may be asking us to do something wrong. So can we still abandon that obligation like that?
Yeah. Actually, thank you for the question. It's very thoughtful, and it's very relevant also. Here's the thing, that The answer is very simple. The answer is yes. It's proportionate, a bit like, in other words, not for every reason do you want to go up in arms against your people you're obliged with. Now I was just going to explain that a little bit. Even in this particular case of the Battle of Kurukshetra, every attempt was made to actually come to some compromise. Because it really wasn't a national crisis, it was a family feud, which the attempt was made to settle it within the family. To the point of 5 villages, you know. What actually also prompted Arjuna to desist from fighting was, it was a family feud. Why did 11 Okshahindis come to fight against? What have they got? You see, that was part of the surprise. I came to fight with, these cousins of mine, but I didn't expect an entire ocean of, soldiers to turn up. And they did. There was a greater number with the enemy, who chose to stand by him, rather than, so this did overwhelm. I mean, so even, for example, see, we're all a little, compromised by birth. We're complicit in something, our family, The family tradition might have been shady, instead of being very noble, might have been shady, dealing in smuggled goods you're already born into it. You have to slowly, the point is you have to become purified somehow. And the onus is on us to find out how to do so. You can't actually do it abruptly. For example, if you spill the beans on all your family members to the police station, that may not actually purify you. It may not actually achieve the objective. The police may not even thank you for it. They were probably getting the smuggled goods themselves. All kinds of, the complicity is now really, endemic, it's everywhere, it's in everything. So partly because of that, Lord Chaitanya has prescribed this holy name chanting, because it is hopeless to expect anybody to become nice and saintly, varnashram, Shudra even. Even a nice Shudra is too much to ask. Because everyone is just patita, fallen and fallen. And, there's only one hope really, and that's to chant the holy name, but also to understand. Because this understanding will motivate you to chant the holy name. It will give you the impetus. How important it is for me to chant the holy name. Otherwise you'll just, whatever, however, you already know. Chanting is not always ecstatic and, fully absorbed, focused. All right. Do you have a question?
So it means that the Vedic rites are applicable according to the situations and circumstances.
Yes, they are. It's according to, and it's the job of the spiritual master to see how and when to apply them. That's the point. It's a bit like, a pharmacy. All the medicines are there, but it's the doctor's business to see which one you need. And not really, I like that color.
Hare Krishna. As a matter of fact, I had already had in mind to ask you about this, but you answered the question in the later part of your lecture. It was relating to India, Pakistan and Afghanistan. Now whatever has happened. Now how to relate Bhagavad Gita in India, Pakistan relation at the moment? Pakistan is becoming a monster as far as India is concerned. As all of us Indians think, it is becoming a monster with a nuclear power. Everything has gone topsy-turvy, most probably. This is what the Indian government is absolutely on the defensive.
Right. So without you going too much more into it, let me answer.
Yeah.
And that's why I said what I said, that we're already in a mess. Everything is, you can't exactly make it nice. It's quite messy. Whether it's a family or whether it's a nation, whether it's the world, the ecology, everything, it's all not good. Water is unclean, undrinkable. Water that's supposed to be drinkable. And so, therefore we have to chant the holy name. That's where I try to address it. Things are not ideal. And the hope that we can make them ideal is also really kind of an illusion. The only point of this is not to, get everyone politically motivated. It is just to give you impetus, realization, how important it is for me to take up the process Lord Chaitanya has given. That's actually quite significant. I know it is said again and again, but actually it is very, very, very significant. You see, your ability to chant the holy name nicely, effectively, attentively is dependent on your realization. And this realization is going to come from the lips of a pure devotee, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. We are studying Him. My particular presentation is to give the view of Srila Prabhupada. If you hear very attentively, you will become inspired. Slowly but surely you will start to understand the significance of what on face value looks very simple. I mean, okay, Hare Krishna, I got it. No, you haven't got it. That's the point. We haven't got it. Therefore our mind wanders. Brahma ki chame mana eva. My mind is wandering. I am affected by other things. Okay.
So is that surrender and sit back?
Beg your pardon?
Surrender to Krishna and sit back?
No, I just told you, it's a great endeavor to develop your realization. That's not sit back. That's like you have to do you have to give up sleeping and eating. This requires really serious dedication.
And another thing is that now, as
You're waving the mic and not speaking.
as the Bhagavad Gita says, that of the 6 things they are told that there must be
6 types of aggressors.
they
Yeah.
must be killed. Now what is happening is all over the world, no hanging. Even if you murder.
Right, okay, so let's not belabor the point. Any other questions?
I have a question.
Yeah, okay.
Maybe this is a repetition of others. Nevertheless, in the process of the Krishna consciousness, more often than not, the line of demarcation looks to be slightly unclear.
The line of demarcation?
Where to do, for example, Jagai Matai, how Nityananda Prabhu treated, and Bhagavan himself says 2 days back, tolerance about that, drilled a lot, you have to tolerate. So where to tolerate, where to be Adveshta, Sarvabhutana, where to take action. This in a day-to-day life.
Okay.
Because we have to be a devotee, are we violating that? Bhautik life, are we this clarity?
Alright, thank you. I also take that as a relevant question, thank you. Because there was a point where Prabhupada said that Arjuna wanted to be saintly. So tolerating is under the umbrella of being saintly. Now, this was clarified, but like you said, it may need repeating. You have every right to be saintly, but not in the case of your duty. Mohandas Gandhi thought he was being saintly, but it was not his duty to give certain lands that he did not possess. And to wrongdoers also, people with threats. When somebody threatens you, they're not the people to compromise. He was a bad example of an administrator. So that's the point. It's not really, you see, this is the point I try to make. they're not mutually exclusive, being saintly and performing your duty. They actually go together. You're not being vindictive when you're administering justice. Okay. Please leave it at that, because I think there was another question. Can you pass the mic over to the lady? Some of these points if you want, you can keep on, going on and on unnecessarily. We just like to keep the topic going.
I just had a quick question. So after the battle was over, did some of these things Arjuna is bringing up actually come to pass? Like, did the history actually go that way in terms of the next few verses that he's going to talk about?
Okay, thank you. Actually, Yudhishthira thought it did go exactly as Arjuna. Yudhishthira Maharaj at the end, because he became the king. His sentiment was exactly what Arjuna is expressing before the battle. That was the sentiment he had at the end of the battle. However, he was also mistaken, which Bhishma had to correct in the bed of arrows. He had to. Now, I'll tell you the correction. Because again, we're suckers for sentiment. We're all, we're fools, We take by shovel load. We take sentiment. We don't really have. I'll explain why it is that Yudhishthira was also mistaken. Because it is true that Duryodhana and his party and that kind of administration was removed. Therefore, Parikshit Maharaj's reign could come. And that was good for the entire. So good, Kali Yuga was supposed to start when Krishna left. It didn't start until Parikshit left. He had the ability to ward of a yuga. It's like somebody warding of winter. What kind of unimaginable power is that you can ward of a season? This is a yuga cycle season, not winter, a yearly season. Kali Yuga could not actually begin until after Parikshit. So actually, Krishna's point was proven. Apparently, society was devastated, which is what, again, Yudhishthira went through that whole crying and, I'm responsible, it was all for me, I'm the cause of it, everyone's a widow, I've been cursed. But this is all superficial. See, this is the point. There's the superfluous, the apparent, and there's the real. They're not the same. The apparent picture is misleading. The bodily picture is misleading. The soul, the reality is different. Granth Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. We continue next Friday and Saturday.